It began with a single moment, 10 silent seconds on live television that no one in the studio that night could ever explain. A smile that faded too fast. A joke that didn't land the way it should have. And an expression on Johnny Carson's face that left millions of viewers wondering what they had just witnessed. Even now, decades later, people who were there describe it as a shift in the air, a tension you could almost feel through the screen. What really happened that night? And why was she never invited back? For years, the incident lived in whispers, replayed on grainy footage, discussed in quiet corners of Hollywood diners. Some call it a misunderstanding. Others insist it was something deeper, an emotional moment wrapped in humor, misread by the wrong person at the wrong time. But before that night, she was considered a rising star, someone who walked onto talk show stages with effortless charm, someone the audience instantly loved. Her name lit up small comedy clubs, her voice carried across radio spots, and everyone said she was on the brink of something huge. She stepped onto the Carson stage with a kind of nervous excitement that only newcomers understand. The orchestra faded, the applause swelled, and for a brief moment, you can see it in her eyes. This was the opportunity she had dreamed about since childhood. She had rehearsed every word, every punchline, every glance. She thought she knew how the evening would go. How could she have predicted it would end her talk show career before it even began? From the start, something felt off. Some say it was the way Carson looked at her as she walked to her chair, as if he sensed a kind of unpredictability in her energy. Others say she felt pressured to be on, to impress him, to make the studio laugh louder than the guests before her. And maybe that pressure shaped her choices that night. Her opening joke landed well enough. The audience chuckled warmly, and for a moment, it seemed like everything was going exactly how she hoped. But then came the story. The one she had debated telling right until the cameras rolled. It was a childhood memory, humorous on the surface, but with an emotional undercurrent that seemed to catch Carson off guard. She spoke about a moment of embarrassment, something painfully human, something audiences usually connect to. But halfway through, the room changed. People in the front row later said they felt unsure whether they should laugh or feel sorry for her. The humor blurred into vulnerability, and Carson, known for sharp timing and control, suddenly looked unsettled. Why? What did he hear at her story that the rest of the world missed? Was it simply too raw for a late-night stage built on lightness and charm? Or was it that she struck a nerve, something personal, something he didn't want reflected on his show? When she tried to pull the story back toward comedy, she pushed a little too hard. She teased Carson lightly. Nothing harsh, nothing unusual for a guest trying to improvise, but his smile tightened. The audience felt the shift. A delicate line had been crossed, though no one could quite define how. And then came the moment people still talk about. She asked him a question. A simple, harmless question about whether he had ever felt the way she did growing up. On any other night, with any other guest, it might have been charming, but Carson didn't answer. Instead, he stared at her with a look that made even the band fall silent. 10 seconds. 10 long seconds in front of millions of viewers. She gave a nervous laugh. He did not. And then, gracefully but unmistakably, he steered the conversation away from her story, away from her vulnerability, away from her completely. Did she realize, as the interview moved on, that something irreversible had happened? Did she sense that final handshake would be the last time she ever stepped onto that stage? The weeks that followed were quiet. Too quiet. Her manager stopped receiving calls. Other shows she had been lined up for suddenly shifted their schedules. And though no official statement was ever released, everyone understood what it meant. She had misread the room. She had touched a topic that late-night television wasn't ready for. Or perhaps she had simply revealed too much of herself in a world that prefers polished edges. Yet those who knew her say that moment changed something inside her too. She returned to small clubs, smaller crowds, more intimate rooms where her vulnerability wasn't a liability. It was the heart of her storytelling. Audiences there didn't just laugh. They listened. They felt. She transformed the embarrassment of that television night into something meaningful, something honest, something people related to more than any polished TV segment. And maybe that's the real story. Not that she was never invited back, but that she discovered a different kind of stage, one where the very thing that ended her mainstream momentum became the reason people remembered her. But still, one question lingers, even after all these years. What did Johnny Carson hear in her words that made him shut down so abruptly? Was it discomfort? A personal connection he didn't want televised? Or was it the simple fear of letting late-night comedy drift too close to genuine emotion? And if that moment happened today, would the world react differently? Some mysteries fade with time. Others grow sharper. Hers remains somewhere in between, suspended in that 10-second silence that changed everything.